The top stories: Ethiopia demands equity and historical accountability to addressing climate crisis. And former Bogota mayor says Ethiopia can learn from Colombia's urban development. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to EBC World English News with me, Shifara Olako, and thank you for watching us. Now, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed underscored that as COP29 unfolds, Ethiopia emphasizes that addressing the climate crisis requires more than financial targets. Abiy wrote on his social media channels that Ethiopia calls for equity, common but differentiated responsibilities, and historical accountability. Clear and precise definitions of climate finance are essential to track progress, with new goals focusing on vulnerable regions, particularly least developed ones in Africa, he said. Ethiopia is advancing its Paris Agreement and COP28 commitments from last year through three key initiatives, the Prime Minister said. The first is the Green Legacy Initiative, which has expanded forest cover by 6% and led to the planting of 40 billion trees to date. He also explained an irrigated wheat program as another important initiative that has transformed Ethiopia from a grain deficit to surplus by 2023. A series of climate-smart urban projects aimed at creating sustainable and greener cities has also been instrumental in the country, Abiy stated, adding that these projects incorporate renewable energy, pedestrian pathways, and electric vehicles. In another development, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has convened the Addis Ababa City Administration leadership to review reports on the second phase of the capital city's corridor development work, which is being undertaken on 8 corridor pathways. On his social media update, the Prime Minister said reports have been reviewed on 8 corridor pathways in the city. The Premier acknowledged that significant progress has been made so far, drawing on the experiences of the first phase to make the cities in Ethiopia more conducive to growth and livability. He further stressed that attention must be paid to 3 essential tasks of building cities that are fit for the next generation, nurturing a generation capable of thriving and transforming cities, and cultivating leadership equipped to guide these cities effectively, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has emphasized. Moving to other stories, in his remarks at COP29 Climate Summit in Azerbaijan, the Ethiopian President Taye Atske-Selassie outlined Ethiopia's major initiatives toward a journey to the green future. Highlighting the success story of the Green Legacy Initiative to date, President Taye said Ethiopia was able to plant 40 billion tree seedlings, expanding the country's forest coverage to 23.6% with the potential to sink 10 billion tons of carbon. The government earmarked 1% of the country's annual budget for the Green Legacy Initiative and Land Restoration Fund. The president noted that this initiative can be scaled up further, appealing for global support to scale up such endeavors. On the wheat production, the president asserted that Ethiopia's heat-resistant wheat project yielded 107 million quintals of wheat in 3 years, making the country's food system carbon negative and the crops climate resilient. With adequate financial support, Ethiopia's model can be replicated globally. Meanwhile, Ethiopia is one of the Czech Republic's key partners in trade. Prime Minister Petr Fiala said after his meeting with the Ethiopian President Taye Asselassie on the sidelines of COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan. The Prime Minister shared a post on social media platform X indicating that he had a candid discussion with President Taye on Tuesday, November 12th. Moving on, Denmark's ambassador-designate to Ethiopia, Sun Krogstrap, said Addis Ababa, the political and diplomatic hub of Africa, is steadily modernizing its infrastructure and layout. In a recent exclusive interview with the Ethiopian news agency, the ambassador-designate said that Ethiopia is growing in many fronts and the continental capital is witnessing a change that befits its name. Stating that he was glad to come back to Ethiopia, the ambassador emphasized that Ethiopia is a country that is very close to his heart, and the same goes to his family. The ambassador further elaborated a lot has changed in the capital, witnessing multiple modernization of the infrastructure of the layout of the city, adding that it is very interesting to see the change is completely implemented this fast. And coming back here, he says it is also a reminder of how fast this country is growing in terms of its population, how fast Addis Ababa is growing, and the pressure that creates on a big city. So it's a number of challenges as well as opportunities, he noted. The success of the corridor development project is a testament to the importance of concerted efforts and synergy in driving change and fostering a strong work culture of the city administration and its residents.
Yes, today you're traveling with us to an absolute corner of Europe, because all the way in the east of the Mediterranean Sea, between Turkey and Egypt, is the beautiful island of Cyprus. This first place is called Saranta Colones. The arches of this castle from 1200 are still standing. Unfortunately, the rest of the beautiful castle was destroyed by an earthquake. One of the best places among the ruins, I guess, is always the stairs of the old theater, when you feel like you're inside the old Roman Empire. Beautifully preserved.
Turning our attention to stories selected for detailed analysis, Ethiopia is undergoing rapid urbanization, and the country is seeking to learn from the experience of other countries. In this regard, our staff reporter Johannes van Taun has approached a leading international expert on the urban planning who believes Ethiopia can draw valuable lessons from Colombia's own journey. Take a look.
Una buena ciudad debe tener algunos espacios públicos tan maravillosos que allí se encuentren ciudadanos de todas las condiciones, de todas las edades.
Enrique Penaloza, former mayor of Bogota, Colombia, and a renowned expert in urban planning, is currently working as an international consultant, sharing his knowledge and experience with different countries. He recently spoke with us about the similarities between Ethiopia and Colombia, highlighting opportunities for experience sharing to benefit both nations. Penaloza emphasizes that Ethiopia can learn from both the success and challenges of Colombia's urbanization over the past 50 years.
Colombia has an income per capita that is larger than Ethiopia, like 5 times larger at this time, but still is a developing country which has many relevant experiences. And as I say, our experience of urbanization over the last 50 years can be very relevant to Ethiopia. And I think that for example, there are some very interesting things. The size of Ethiopia is exactly the same size as the size of Colombia. The altitude of Addis is almost the same size as the altitude of Bogota, because here we are 2,300 meters and we are 2,600 meters in Bogota. We are very much the same distance from the equator. So we are very close in many ways.
Penaloza also points out the potential for cooperation in key sectors like coffee and flour production, where both nations have strong agricultural traditions.
Colombia is the biggest flour exporter in the world, and there are already some Colombian flour growers here in Ethiopia, and there could be much more. And so there can be much exchanges in knowledge and experiences. Once again, I say our experiences for you to learn are not only the good ones, but especially the bad ones to avoid.
And finally, Norwegian Ambassador Stan Christensen has reiterated his country's commitment to deepening ties with Ethiopia, focusing on peace and stability in the Horn of Africa. The ambassador also reaffirmed Norwegian's strong support for key initiatives in the country, including the National Dialogue and Transitional Justice. Koshumaleso has more on that from the Ethiopian news agency.
Norwegian ambassador to Ethiopia Stan Christensen has praised Ethiopia for its vital contributions to achieving lasting peace in the region. Talking to Ethiopian news agency, Ambassador Christensen highlighted Ethiopia's significant role in stabilizing neighboring countries, noting its central importance to regional peace efforts. He further emphasized that maintaining strong cooperation with Ethiopia is a cornerstone of Norway's ongoing engagement in the Horn of Africa.
On peace and security, we have been particularly, I would say, committed to the Horn of Africa. Partnering with Ethiopia on important files like Somalia. We have been committed to South Sudan, working among other countries also with Ethiopia. We have and continue to work very closely with Ethiopia on the Sudan, which is a tragedy unfolding before us. So in the Horn of Africa, we are very strong partners.
He expressed Norway's commitment to supporting Ethiopia's efforts for lasting peace, including the National Dialogue, Transitional Justice and Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration, especially in the northern Ethiopia.
Norway is very committed to supporting the stabilization and progress of Ethiopia, and we are specifically supporting domestic processes, also the National Dialogue Commission, the transitional justice process, as well as the DDR process in the north, primarily now in the north of Ethiopia. So these are elements of building an ever stronger Ethiopia that Norway is committed to be a.
According to him, his country is in full agreement on the importance of a strong UN system and the need for reform within the multilateral framework. The two countries have enjoyed a long-standing relationship rooted in political, humanitarian, and cultural ties since Second World War. Eros learned.
Well, dear viewers, you have been watching ABC World, and now let me give you a quick reminder of the top stories. Ethiopia demands equity and historical accountability to addressing climate crisis. And former mayor says Ethiopia can learn from Colombia's urban development. Well, dear viewers, with that, we come to the end of today's news. Thank you for watching us.